I'm gonna give you the exact framework I use to go from 0 to 974 units and $100 million in multifamily real estate. Guys, this isn't theory. This isn't something I read in a book. This is the actual step-by-step system that I created, I built after years and years of trial and error to get to where I am now, and that my students are using right now to close their first multifamily deals. I call it the Dealmaker Scaling System. It's 6 steps in order. Every single one matters. You got to learn them all. Let's get into it. Most people think scaling in multifamily requires a lot of money or a lot of connections. I'm here to tell you it does not. It requires, though, a system. The reason most people never close their first deal, or they may have 1 or 2, they don't scale properly, is because they don't have enough capital. It's because they skipped the steps and they wonder why nothing is working. The Dealmaker Scaling System fixes that. It puts everything in the right order. And I'll tell you this, every single person inside my community who has closed a deal has followed these 6 steps, whether they even knew it or not. So let's get into step 1. I call it the attention asset. So step 1 is called the attention asset because here's the truth. No one invests with you or partners with you or brings you deals if they don't know you exist. The first thing I tell my students is you need to create an online profile so that people can find you and look you up. They're not gonna invest with you if they don't know you exist. And once you have that information up on the internet, you gotta start telling people what you do, online, in person, everywhere, right? The old adage, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, is the truth. Same as your network is your net worth. Because guys, these aren't cliches in business. They are the business. So post about what you're doing on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. Talk about it. Build the reputation that precedes every conversation you have. That is your attention asset. What I tell my students all the time is, if you're about to do something, whatever it is, post about getting ready to do it. When you're doing the thing, post about doing your thing. After you're done doing the thing, post about the fact that you just did the thing. That is how you build the attention asset. But here's the thing, attention without the right platform behind it is completely worthless. And that is where step 2 comes in. Step 2, we call it the platform lock. Now, what does that mean? Investors don't give money to people, they give money to platforms. When someone is considering investing with you, the first thing they're gonna do is look you up like we talked about. And if they find a Gmail address, no corporate presence, they're gonna walk away. Especially if it's a cold contact, a new person that you're trying to nurture and bring into your ecosystem. So before you start really reaching out to people one-on-one, you need to get your entity structure right. And that's what we call your platform. So incorporate your holding company, your operating company, your branding, your name, your corporate identity. Here's what most people don't realize. That doesn't cost a lot of money. A registered agent service, a single member operating agreement, you're talking a few $100 to a few $1,000s to do that correctly. But skipping it costs you everything. It costs you deals, it costs you partners, and it costs you investors. Guys, I've seen it firsthand. Investors will not trust somebody who doesn't have a Gmail address. Now, I got roasted on Instagram for having this opinion, but there was a lot of people on there that also really agreed with me. And if you get it wrong, people just don't trust you. They don't seem that you're taking your own professional presence seriously. But if you get it right and you show up as a professional before you've ever even said a word to somebody, that's how you know you're for real. And if you want to know exactly how to set up your holding company correctly, just DM me the word legal, either on Instagram or here on YouTube, and I'll send you my jurisdictional template for free that walks you through exactly how to do it. So now that you have the platform locked in, you need to learn to speak the language. We want to crawl before we learn how to walk. That is step 3. Step 3, we call it the underwriting edge. Now, it's the underwriting edge because you can't raise capital, talk to brokers, or close deals if you can't speak the language of multifamily. And this is where actual training and education comes in. Learning what NOI is, net operating income, cap rates, cash on cash return, IRR, internal rate of return, DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. These are not just acronyms and buzzwords. They're the language of every deal room, every broker conversation, and every investor pitch you'll ever be in. And here's what I always tell people, fluency, not mastery. You don't need a finance degree. You don't need to come out of Harvard Business School to talk this talk and walk this walk. You do need to be able to sit across the table from a broker or an investor and break down a deal in real time and hold the conversation. So make sure you learn to crawl before you learn to walk. But although these steps are sequential, they are also done in parallel, because as you're putting your corporate identity together and as you are building your attention, you're also learning the underwriting edge, right? Because the moment you can do that, the moment you can start talking to the investors and these brokers in this language, you stop being a student and you start being a sponsor. You can analyze deals, but the deals don't close alone. You need the right people around you. And that, my friend, is step number 4. Before I get get there, I want to give you something for free. What I put together is something called the Key Principle Playbook. And we'll get into what exactly a key principle is in just a minute. But the Key Principle Playbook breaks down exactly how to earn 10 to 20% of equity in multifamily deals by lending your net worth, not necessarily your money. Now, there's zero cash required. This is the exact model that I've used with my own students to get deals done. If you've got a significant net worth and you're looking to get into multifamily and maybe not be a sponsor, but you want to have the benefit of passive real estate income, DM me the word key on Instagram and I will send it to you right now for free. You can put it in the comments here on YouTube as well, and I'll see those and I'll get back to you. All right, now, step 4 is the KP advantage. Now, we talked about KP in just the last little bit there. Let me tell you exactly what that is. This is the step that most people skip, which is exactly why they never close their first deal, because here's the truth, folks. You don't need money to close your first multifamily deal. You need the right people around you. You need the platforms and the systems and the right people. There are 3 partners you need on every single deal. You need a key principal. That is someone who lends their net worth and liquidity to help you qualify for the loan, because guys, you're not gonna be able to go out and get a loan for $5 million or $4 million or $3 million unless you have someone on the team that's worth that amount of money. You also need a capital raiser. That's if you don't have the investor connections, you can bring someone onto your team who does, right? They have those investor relationships to fund the equity. Ideally, you will become an experienced operator after you learn how to grow and scale a real estate portfolio. But if you don't, and you're just getting started, but you found a great deal, you can partner with these 3 people and close a deal with little to no money out of pocket. I know this works because I've done it myself. I'll tell you about my very first multifamily deal. So this particular deal is 100 units in Carrollton, Georgia. I found the deal, I negotiated it, I got it under contract, but I had no idea how to close it, right? I didn't have the net worth, I didn't have the capital, I didn't have the connections. So what did I do? I brought in the right team around me. Now I got, I think 10 or 15% ownership of the GP. And from that one deal, between the acquisition fee and the eventual sale, I walked away with around $200,000. Zero of my own money out of pocket. Partners brought in the balance sheet, investors bring in the capital, and that's how you do it. Now, you're gonna learn also how to raise your own capital, and that leads us to step number 5, which I call the warm capital method. So step 5, why is it called the warm capital method? Because you won't believe this, but your first $250,000 to $1 million of investor capital that you need is likely already in your phone. You just haven't asked for it correctly. I know it's awkward asking people to get to invest with you for the very first time, your friends that you've known a long time, but believe me, you have to be comfortable in the uncomfortableness to get started down this path. Here's how to start. Open your contacts. Write down 50 to 100 names. People with stable or high income, people you trust, people who ask smart money questions. You know who they are. Categorize A, B, and C. A is the most likely to invest. B is a maybe. C is someone who needs more nurturing. Then start having the conversations, not pitches. You're not asking them to invest, but say something like this. Hey, I've been buying apartment buildings and helping investors achieve passive cash flow. Would you want me to keep you posted on what I'm working on? That's it. You're inviting them to come along with you on the journey. You're not asking them for any money. You're just reaching out. You're not pitching a deal. Once you do that, 9 times out of 10, they will say yes. Then you educate. You tell them about deal breakdowns, market updates. You explain certain things. Something happens in the macro economy, tell them about it. The Fed just announced they're holding interest rates steady. We have a new Fed chair. Those are kinds of the macroeconomic things that you can explain to your investors or to people that you're nurturing that shows that you are an expert. Because even if you're not, don't be afraid to fake it till you make it. Be comfortable in the uncomfortableness. You bring them into your world over time. Because here's what I've seen over and over again. Most investors, they commit after 3 to 6 months of nurturing, not on day one. You're not cold calling strangers at this point. You're activating relationships that already exist. And that is why we call it the warm capital method. So now you have the attention, you've got the platform, you've got the underwriting, you've got the partners, and you have the capital. Here's where it all comes together. Step 6 is what we call the room strategy. The best deals, the best partners, and the best investors come from being in the right rooms. Real rooms, in-person events. One conversation at the right event is worth 100 cold messages online. Now, I've closed more deals from handshakes at conferences than from any marketing campaign I've ever run online. But the rooms worth being in, real estate conferences, investor meetups, legal and financial events, local business networks, look them up, show up. And when you're there, your goal is not to collect business cards. Your goal is 2 or 3 real conversations. Expand your network. Remember what we said, your network is your net worth. And that's why, folks, in Atlanta, I am actually throwing a multifamily Bootcamp on August 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's a room specifically built for people who are serious about closing deals. If you want to be in that room, I'm going to put the link in the description of this video. Make sure you check it out. So folks, that is what I call the Dealmaker Scaling System. It's 6 steps in order, and it works. Believe me, I've worked it in my life. My students are accessing the system right now, and they are closing deals. So one last thing before I go. Every single step in this framework has a legal layer underneath it. Entity structuring, securities compliance, syndication documents, key principal agreement. I know this because I'm a commercial real estate attorney, and I built this system knowing exactly where the legal pitfalls are at every step. So if you want to close your first multifamily deal in the next 90 days using the Dealmaker Scaling System, go ahead and book a free call with my team through the link below. We'll look at your situation and show you exactly where to start. If you don't know, my name is Todd Robinson. I'm a commercial real estate attorney. I've got my own law firm plus a $100 million portfolio. I paid $0 of taxes last year, and I built this portfolio in this life of mine using this exact system, and I want you to go steal it right now. Let's go.